afternoon, good morning, my lovely friends. You are live in my kitchen. I am Nupur, Chef Nupur, and you are live in my kitchen. The Queen's Curry Kitchen. I am a chef. I live in Queens and I make curry in my kitchen. How simple is that? So today I'm making two dishes that are again going back to my Sindhi heritage in terms of my family, my husband's family being Sindhi. So I thought, why don't I make it right here with all of you guys, right? So we are going to be live. I've done a little bit of the prep ahead of time and I'm going to show you that really quickly. We're going to make two dishes today. One is going to be a salmon in a garlic and fenugreek sauce. And then the other one is going to be something that is made from leftover rotis or chapatis. It's called sale roti. So I think it goes back to the culture when there were no refrigerators and people had extra leftovers but didn't know what to do with them. So they found ways to use leftover food, right? So I've saved about, how many are these? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these from 2 days ago. And they have to be a little bit stale to have the perfect texture and to be able to hold up, okay? So this is one dish that we're going to make. It's going to be vegan, vegetarian, nut-free, dairy-free. And the other dish that we're going to make is going to be salmon. So if you're pescatarian, this is the great you're at the right time in the right place. And I'm going to show you all the prep that I've done. So I have a ton of garlic, which is going to be common to both the dishes that we're going to be making. I have about 3 or 4 farm fresh tomatoes and a little piece of jalapeno right over here. And then for the other, I have 3 tomatoes, plum tomatoes right over here with a little bit of jalapeno. I will be using curry leaves. These are leaves that you get in Indian grocery stores. These are curry leaves. They have a little bit of almost like a lime, garlic and pepper mixed together. It has a beautiful aroma and it's greatly used in South Indian, West Indian and yeah, those areas of the coastal areas of India. I also have a bunch of cilantro that's right here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to need. The first thing that we're going to do is we will start with making chopping our garlic in this little chopper that I have. Okay, so I'm going to start with the fish because the paste that we have to make for the leftover roti dish, it's called sale roti. For that we have to actually churn everything together. So I will just do the garlic, remove that, and then I'm going to go to the mix that I have to make later. So the fish curry that we're going to make combines 2 very strong aromatics. One is garlic and the other one is a fenugreek herb. Pardon the noise, I'm going to turn on this blender. Beautiful. Okay, so those are 2 very strong aromatics and if you've never eaten them before, you wouldn't even think that they work together. But you know what? They do. So I'm going to start with a little bit of oil in my pan. I'm using olive oil. You can use any oil of choice. This is how fine or coarse your garlic needs to be. Don't make it too fine. Okay. Hi Melanie. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Wherever you are. I think it's evening for you. So I am making a fish curry from my husband's side of the family, and this is my mother-in-law's recipe. For those of you who don't know, my mother-in-law passed this July, on the 17th of July, and I am really trying to keep her legacy alive by not only cooking the foods that she taught us, but also by making a lot more of them at home, okay? So the oil is kind of medium hot. I'm going to put in the garlic. I'm going to get this fish dish started to a certain point, and then when it gets to autopilot, I'm going to start with the second dish, okay? Now, if you really know how to make this curry, you can basically use it for anything. You can use it for peas and potatoes. You can use it for aloo matar, aloo bangan, whatever. It's just a technique of combining the 2 aromatics. The Sindhi name for this dish is Thoom Methi Me Machi. Thoom means garlic. Methi is the dry fenugreek herb, which I'm going to be using right over here. This is right here. It's a dry fenugreek herb. If you're Iranian, Persian, Indian, you know what this is. And if you've never had it, you can always order it from my website. This is a masala box that I have on my website. It comes fully loaded. You can get it with or without the spices. And dry fenugreek herb will be one of the spices that you're going to get in the masala box. Hello Anita, good afternoon and welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. So you can see the garlic is now sizzling. I don't have to burn it and I do not have to brown it. Hey Tim, good afternoon. It's good to see you here. So if you're Italian, you know that, every dish starts with garlic. In the Indian culture, even if you add garlic, you always add it to hot oil and never to cold oil. In Italian cooking, you start the pan with some oil and you immediately add the garlic. You don't do that in Indian cooking because you're trying to cook out the smell of the onion, of the garlic, instead of keeping it in. So if you want to keep the onion flavor into your oil, you're going to start it with cold oil. In Indian cooking, it's always hot oil into the aromatics. You're going to take a generous amount of this dry fenugreek herb and you're going to saute it for a few seconds. Melanie has grown some fresh fenugreek in her garden in Bloemfontein. That's really something, Melanie. I applaud that. That's really cool. If you have any comments or if you have anything to say, just drop it in the comments. I have my eyes on the pan, but I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled into the comments as well. You'll see as you saute this, the fenugreek is going to shrink, right? So that's the idea. Turn the heat to low if you feel like the flame is running away with you and you don't have enough time to, or if you find that your garlic is turning brown. And I'm going to just remove this from the pan because now I have to go in and make the gravy, which is going to be just tomatoes and jalapenos for this sauce. So I'm going to add in the jalapeno, same blender. I'm not washing anything. I need to keep this intact. I'm going to drop all of these farm fresh tomatoes. I got this from my CSA box. They're in Long Island City. They're called the Connected Chef. I don't know if this blender is going to take these big pieces or not. Let's see. We'll find out. I'll add a little bit of water to make the process easy. And then I'm going to give it a blitz. Pardon the noise again. It needed bigger pieces, smaller pieces, or maybe more water. Okay, let me just go back and add a little more water. I know this sound can be super annoying, so I do apologize. I thought I was going to use my bigger blender, so I just left the pieces whole. Should not be lazy, right? Know your equipment, guys. Don't do stupid stuff like I do sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, the blender can handle it. No, honey, it cannot handle it. Just make it easy for the blender. Chop it up a little bit more. So it'll go through, right? I even have the juicer where you have to chop everything so small, otherwise it's not going to work. So that kind of deters me from doing anything. All right, so how many Indian food lovers in this live right now? Do you make Indian food? Do you like to go to Indian restaurants and get takeout every single week? Like my family has 5 Indian restaurants and we have customers who are not Indian, but they eat Indian food at least 3 to 4 times a week. And I feel like that's just super impressive, right? Okay. I think we're making some progress here. All right. Give it a shake. Alrighty now. Okay, I'm going to bring this back to the top of the stove. And now is the time to add the tomatoes. Almost every day. Yes, Melanie. You are so dedicated, Melanie. I don't even have the words to applaud what you do. You are so dedicated. So this is just tomatoes and jalapeno that I pureed. I'm going to put this right in here. And now we have to cook off all of the moisture from these tomatoes to give it a nice bright color. Especially if you're not cooking in the peak of summer, you should always add a little bit of tomato puree or tomato paste, whatever you have. It definitely helps you along to get the color out and to kind of intensify the flavors of it. Give it a good stir. Just blend everything in. In terms of dry spices, I am going to start with some salt. I'm using sea salt. I usually use either sea salt or Himalayan pink salt. You can use whatever you like. But remember that if you put your food in the fridge and you're going to eat it the next day, when you eat chemical salt, it alters the taste of your food once you microwave it. Okay, while we were chatting, I added the coriander seed powder, the turmeric powder, and a hint of garam masala. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some Indian paprika or Kashmiri red chili powder. I'm going to give it a good stir. You can see the mixture immediately starts to bubble, and basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to infuse this tomato curry with all of the flavors of the garlic, of the fenugreek, and of all the dry spices that you just put in here. I'm going to just add a little bit of cilantro. There's no such thing as too much cilantro. By the way, if this is your first time here, don't let this be your last. Go and follow this page. Give it a like. Give it a follow. There's also a private Facebook group called Indian Curry Lovers, and you should see it when you go to the Queen's Curry Kitchen page on Facebook. I also have a YouTube channel, so if you miss anything from here or you're just joining in, you can always catch this. It will be uploaded to my YouTube channel within the next couple of days. And I will drop a link to that, or you can always go back and catch the replay. If you're on TikTok, obviously you won't be able to catch the replay, so then you can just go into Facebook and watch me there. My Facebook page is Queen's Curry Kitchen. Okay, so now this is doing its thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and marinate the fish a little bit. I will cover this pan so that we don't get splatters all over the place. We just basically have to cook this out till all of the oil separates from the curry. Now, coming to our fish, I'm just going to gently put a little salt and just let it be. Basically, the curry, when it's ready, we're going to put a little bit of water and create the liquid broth, and then these fish pieces will poach in that. I am not going to fry the fish. Some people like to fry their fish before cooking it into their gravies. I don't like to do that because I just feel like it's extra oil for no reason. And salmon, as it is a very oily fish. So if you have an omnivorous family where half the people are vegetarian and half the people are pescatarian, I know your dilemma, because I have a family like that, so it's often very hard to decide like what to eat, what to cook. It's just such a challenge to figure that out, right? Okay, so this fish is going to rest for a little bit till our curry comes together. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with our second dish, which is going to be the sale rotis. And how we start this is we have these leftover rotis from a couple of days ago. If you make rotis every day and you have some leftovers, you can definitely make this recipe. It's super easy and it's made with some very easily available ingredients around the house. The only thing I think you may have a problem with is curry leaves, which you may not find. If you don't find them, skip the step, but make the recipe anyway. Okay, so into this blender is going to go a lot of garlic. You have to put in a lot of cilantro. So put this at the bottom so it's going to be nice and... I think I didn't pull off my blender properly. Okay. Alright, now it's good. Yep. So put the cilantro at the bottom. Put a couple of curry leaves at the bottom. Add in the jalapeno or Thai green chilies, whatever you have. Add in the tomato paste. This is going to go into the blender. I'll bring it up close. I think the wire is just too short, so you won't be able to see it from where I'm doing it. I'm trying, but I don't think it's going to come this far. And then add in all of your tomatoes in small pieces right into this. Okay, I'm going to save a couple of tomatoes just to put them whole on top of my fish curry as a garnish. And the ones I'm going to save are the ones, I have a combination of the ones that are from the farm and some others that are actually from the supermarket. So I'm going to save the farm tomatoes because they're just sweet and so delicious. I'm going to save that as a garnish. Okay, so all of these finely chopped tomatoes are going in. All right. A warm welcome to anybody that's watching. Where are you tuning in from? Drop it in the comments below. Let me know where all the flavor lovers of this world are living. Okay. Now, one difference in making this tomato paste and the one that we made before in the blender is that we will be adding all of our powdered spices to this blend at this time. Okay. We're not going to add it to the pan. We will add it to this blender right now. Okay, okay, let me see. I think I have a question. Became the number 2, just got the number 1 gifter. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Malik Kumar. I really appreciate that. I don't think I've got too many prizes and badges on TikTok, so I think you've set the trend. You started something new. Thank you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add salt. Again, this is sea salt. You can use Himalayan pink salt, sea salt, whatever you prefer. A lot of Kashmiri red chili powder. We're going to add coriander seed powder. This is called dhania in Hindi. Again, if you don't have these spices, if you find it hard to get these spices, get it on my website, queenscurrykitchen.com. There is an online shop where you can buy the box, you can buy the spices, you can buy refills on the spices. I've just made your Indian food journey very easy by giving you all of those options. It's a great gift for someone if you're trying to send them something for Diwali or something for the holidays. It's a really great gift. You'll also find ebooks and spices and chai masala and all of that good stuff. Okay, now into this blender I'm going to add just a little bit of water to make it easy to blend, and I'm going to give it a blitz. Why does it not want to work with me today? Does it not like me? I don't know. That's interesting. Sometimes with these things you just never know. Ah, now it's working. Okay, I think it needs a little more liquid because it's just too tightly packed. So I'm going to add a little more liquid to the base of it to help move things along. All right. I'm not kidding, but when you open this blender after blending all these things, the aroma that comes out of it is absolutely insane. It reminds me of the days when I used to assist my mother-in-law in the kitchen and she would make these things and I would just assist her and, you know, chop this, clean that. I've been married for 26 years, so I've had a lot of training from my mother-in-law. Now this mixture needs to be quite fine, not coarse at all. So just make sure you give it the time and attention it needs. I'm going to add some oil to this pan now. Moving on to our second dish. We have 6 rotis that we're going to cook with. Abdullah Kha, welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. I hope you are going to try to make any of these dishes. It would be nice. Just take a quick look at the way the curry of the fish is coming along. All of the moisture is drying out. The color of the curry is changing. The color of the tomatoes is becoming a deeper red. I'm just going to keep sauteing this and I'm going to put it back on a low flame and I'm going to turn the flame all the way to low till all of the oil separates from the tomatoes. This is on high. We are going to start with a few sprigs of curry leaves. Whenever you add curry leaves, be careful, they do splatter, and also tear them in half so that the oils are going to get released and they're going to infuse your oil with the deliciousness. Now all of these dishes that I learned from my mother-in-law, they do take a considerable amount of oil. For whatever reason, they do not taste good if you try to do an oil-free version, even though I would love to do a lightly oiled version, but for whatever reason, don't ask me why, but everything that she cooked, it was always loaded with oil. And she said, oh, that's where the taste is. All right, so the oil is nice and hot. I'm going to go ahead and add this puree that we just made. No need to add any water at this point, but fill this tumbler with water and keep it ready. You're going to need that. Okay, so now the flame is on its full setting. I am going to go ahead and give this a gentle stir. So basically I'm going to try to get this to autopilot so I can go back and focus on the fish, right? So whenever you have to multitask or you have to do 2 dishes at the same time, get one started, do all the prep for both of them, get one started, and then when that's on an autopilot zone, jump to the first one. Then when this is on autopilot, jump to the other one. That way you'll be done in the kitchen. If you have 2, 4, or 5 burners, make a use of everything. Sometimes there are days when I'm doing something in an instant pot, something over the stove top, and I'm cooking 3 or 4 dishes at the same time. That way I just only have to clean my kitchen once, and then I don't have to cook for the rest of the 2-3 days, right? So I think it's quite intelligent. Although Ayurveda says that you should only eat foods that have been cooked a couple of hours ago. Don't use anything that has been sitting in your fridge. But you know what? I wish our life was that simple, and I wish we had that kind of luxury of time. I don't, because we're all working and running in 50 different directions. Okay, man, it's hot in this kitchen. All right, so any questions for me today? Anything related to the recipe that you're seeing right now? Anything related to Indian food in general? I'm just trying to cook out all of the moisture from this, and you'll see it's going to splatter. So after this, you do have to clean your stove. I'm just putting a disclaimer, like, don't hate me, because it's just the nature of the process that it is. In order to cook this out, I've turned down the heat to medium-high. Let me just quickly take a look at what this curry is looking like. Okay, so the oil is started to separate from the tomatoes. I think it needs a few more seconds, and then it should be good. I'm just going to scrape everything and bring it to the center, because it has also reduced. Okay, I can literally smell the sourness of the tomatoes through the curry. I am going to increase the heat just a little bit. This one is going to keep going. And at this time, I'm going to add some more spices, powdered spices to this, because with the cooking process, it does tend to reduce the potency of the seasoning sometimes, especially turmeric, etc. Hello, Shimona. Welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. Gosh, it's been so long. I'm going to add a little more turmeric, a little more coriander powder, and a little more of the Kashmiri red chili powder. Okay, and then I'm going to saute this. We do have to cook this out, otherwise all of the garlic will taste raw, and it's just really not a good mouthfeel. Okay, in the meantime, what I want you to do is I want you to come with me and prep all these rotis that we have. Okay, how we do that is we are going to take a bowl, and you're going to take all these rotis and you will cut them into small pieces. So you can either do this with a knife or you can do this with your hands. Just take them and cut them into this size pieces. Just drop them together, keep it ready. So it's almost like making a curry out of rotis. My mother-in-law also does the same thing, used to do the same thing with bread. So just make sure it's a hearty bread and not like a soft bread that's going to become pulpy. She used to do this with day-old bread or stale bread, especially like rolls and hoagies. She would make this with either rotis or those rolls, and it tasted pretty good. Okay, so this is all of these that are chopped up. There you go. I've also done it with scissors. I've done it with knives. It's the same thing, doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to allow this mixture to cook up. Going back to the fish and seeing how it's doing. Alright, now it's really at a good point where a lot of the oil from it has separated from the pan. And you can actually hear the sizzle of it, which means that the moisture is pretty much disappeared. Now we're going to add as much liquid as we need in order to make the curry. The curry is the reduction that will happen after the fish has poached in the liquid. So if you want, let's say, 16 ounces of the gravy sauce, then add about 18 to 20 ounces of water to this. And then the fish will poach, a lot of water will evaporate, and then finally what you will be left with is the reduction, which will be the gravy with which you will serve the fish. Okay, so let me grab some water to put in this. This is about 2 cups, you know, the teacups. I'm going to add a little bit. And I think I'm going to save this to see if I need to adjust the consistency later on. Give it a gentle mix. Just make sure there are no lumps. Just mix all of the tomato paste and the puree and all the spices. Give it a gentle mix. I think I'm gonna need a little bit more because I want the fish to boil and poach. Now I have to wait for this to come to the boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to slowly put all of the salted fish pieces in here. Another tip with cooking fish is don't over salt the fish, because then it really becomes soft and pulpy, and then you don't want to wash it. If you wash it, you lose the texture of it. If you don't wash it, then the curry becomes too salty. So all of this, right? Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate it. Yes, I do appreciate your kind words and your condolence message. Thank you. She was, what do I say? I came to her family when I was a 23-year-old girl. And she was my mom. She taught me how to speak their language. She taught me, my husband and I are from 2 different states. So we speak different languages. She was my teacher, she was my mentor, she was a lot of things to me. She was truly my mom. So thank you. Okay, so this is coming to the boil. I'm sorry. I don't think I'll ever stop grieving about her, but this is my only way to keep her memory alive. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm sharing it with you guys. So thank you all for being a part of this journey. I appreciate that. Okay. So basically this is coming to the boil. I have to wait for this to reduce all of the moisture. This is what it looks like right now. It still has some moisture. I have to wait for that to get by. I filled my tumbler with water for the next step on the roti dish. This is the fish that's coming along. Okay, now that it's coming to a really good boil, I'm going to check the seasoning on this. So just give it a gentle swirl and see if all of the salt, the spices and everything is in the correct proportion. Is it something to your liking? Do you need to fix anything? Because once you put in the raw fish, you won't be able to taste it for a while, right? I think it's perfect. It's tangy from the tomatoes. It's a little bit low on the salt, and I prefer it that way because I already salted the fish. So once I put in the fish, then I'm going to see what's going on. At this stage, I'm also going to go ahead and add some dry fenugreek herbs, and the best way to add it if you're not adding it to oil is to take it between your palms and rub it like this. So the warmth from your palm actually helps to release the oils. And now it's gone into the curry. So gradually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fish and add it to this broth. Do not be afraid. If you are afraid, then just use tongs. My hands are just immune to a lot of heat. And there you go. Okay, so that goes in. After this, you're not going to shake or move anything on this pan. If you need to just zhuzh it to settle anything, you're just going to take it and give it a good, like a gentle nudge. If you need to make sure that all the fish is submerged in the curry for a good poach, just give it a gentle nudge or use the point of a knife to align it. Okay, this is my board with the fish. It's going to get washed separately. I always use plastic boards for fish and meat because the bacteria cannot go in there, and you can actually use bleach or Clorox or vinegar or whatever to disinfect it. I don't like to use wooden boards for meat and chicken and fish because I feel like the bacteria goes into the wood grain. Alright, so now this is bubbling away. I'm going to go ahead and add some cilantro to this. There you go. Right? And the tomatoes that I kept for garnish, I'm going to add those only because it's going to be a very pretty look and a good texture against the fish. Just a few pieces here and there. Nothing too crazy. Also, if you use a lot of pureed sauces, then you just add a little bit of what's in the sauce. Then it's a great presentation because whoever eats it knows that they're eating something that has tomatoes. couple of jalapenos here and there to just do a slow time release on the flavor. There you go. I'm going to quickly wash my hands. Okay, and I think now it's time to put the cover back onto this. But you can see the color of the fish is already changing. It's already getting poached. Let me just turn the camera a little bit so you can see it's kind of almost pretty much poached. And you don't want to overcook the fish, right? It should be nice and flaky. So this is happening. I'm going to focus attention onto here. You'll also see as the curry cooks, the oil will come to the top and you'll be able to see this, like the lattice of the, you'll see the fat coming to the top, which is a combination of the fat from the fish and the oil in which we fried the tomato paste. Okay, so we are going to put this cover back on and put it on a very low flame setting, so that low to medium, so that it will continue to poach. Meanwhile, this guy is doing really well. You'll see the color change and deepen. It's also become thicker, but the oil is not yet out of the masala, so we're going to work this a little bit more and help it along. If you have a silicone spatula, use that so that there is absolutely nothing wasted. I love silicone spatulas. You know what, maybe I'll just switch these two so you'll get a better view of what's going on. This is my very old cast iron wok. The handle is broken, the glass cover was shattered many years ago, but I still held on to it because it cooks everything so beautifully and retains the heat beautifully. Okay, so here is our sauce for the rotis. This is for the sale roti. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you're just joining in, I am Nupur. I am the owner of Queen's Curry Kitchen, a small meal delivery company and spice manufacturing company right here in Queens, New York. If you have not been here before, make sure to hang out with us. We always have interesting recipes that we do on the Facebook Live. This is real recipes in real time. No 2-minute, 1-minute version. So if patience is not your thing, honey, I don't think you can survive here. If you like what you see, give us a follow. I'm on Queen's Curry Kitchen on TikTok and on Facebook, and my Instagram handle is Indian Food Queens. If you like Indian food and you'd like to explore a little more, head over to the website and download a free chana masala recipe that I put there for all of you to have access to. The website is www.queenscurrykitchen.com. In there you will also find masala chai, you will find spice blends, you will find masala boxes, you will find ebooks that you can immediately download and start cooking like me. There's also a ton of resources on our YouTube channel, so if you missed any of our live videos, catch the replays on Facebook, or then go to my YouTube channel where everything is relisted and uploaded. Alright, now this is doing really well. As you can see, when you start stirring the masala and it starts to come together instead of being scattered, like you see how it's moving as a group instead of just being scattered all over the place, it starts to come together. That's when you know it's been adequately seared, or in Hindi we call bhuna, right? Bhuna means to sear it at high temperature and constantly stir it. The American version of searing means just to leave it and get some color on the pan. The Indian version of searing is bhunna. There is no English word that describes the word bhunna. The Britishers tried a lot, but they could not come up with a parallel of bhunna. When they colonized India and they fell in love with Indian food, a lot of the dishes are called bhuna, like goat bhuna, lamb bhuna, bhuni khichdi. So bhunna is the process of actually having it at high temperature and constantly stirring it and searing it at the same time to build the color, to reduce the moisture, to give it that flavor, to expose it to high heat for short bursts of time and build the flavor, right? So this is the process of bhunna, where you have a little bit of oil or ghee or butter, whatever it is. Mostly it's ghee or oil. Okay, now so this masala is pretty much ready. I actually like to make a pasta with this masala and it tastes absolutely bomb. Okay, now is the time to add the liquid. Again, we're going to do the same thing. We will add the liquid for it and allow it to come to the boil before we add the cut up rotis to this. I'm using whole wheat rotis. I can't say if this works with white flour or not. I've never tried it with maida or white flour, bleached flour. We use durum wheat flour for our rotis, and that's what I'm doing this with. Okay, so I have to have, unlike this one where I'm going to serve this with the curry, right? The gravy has to be there, which will be the final reduction of the poaching of the fish. This one, all of these rotis are actually going to soak up this liquid. So I don't want it to be too thick. It should be quite thin so it can permeate the surface of the rotis, right? I am going to wait for it to come to a boil. I think it needs a little bit more water. And I will add another final flourish of the aromatics by adding some curry leaves to this. Gonna rip them and throw them in there, rip them and throw them in there. Hi Sharmala, how are you today? Welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. Share and follow this page. Also share it with your friends so that if they like Indian cooking, they can definitely stop by and pick up a recipe that they love. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and taste this again to check the seasoning. Just remember, once you add the rotis in it, you cannot add more salt or take away anything. So be sure that all your seasonings are on point. It's quite tart. I think it needs a little more salt because the rotis, I don't put any salt in my dough when I make the rotis. So I want to keep the salt in here so that it'll be perfect when it gets there. I'm going to add a little more coriander seed powder to balance out the little tartness of this. I'm going to give it a gentle stir. I will add some cilantro right over here. And we will wait for this to come to a boil. Okay. I've literally cleaned out my tumbler. This is the last part of any of the flavor that stuck to the lid. Just gonna put that in there. We don't waste anything, especially now groceries so expensive, my gosh. Okie doke. Alright, so now we're going to just patiently wait for this to come to a boil, which it's doing rapidly right now. I'm going to quickly show you what the fish looks like. It's almost done and you'll be surprised to see how the oil has literally floated to the top. I will reduce the heat all the way to its lowest setting. Now, one way to release or to draw out all of the oil or fat that you've put in cooking your dish or sauteing or creating the tadka is that just reduce the flame all the way to its lowest setting and then turn the heat down and then put a cover on your pan. It's going to draw out all of the oil because the steam is going to rise to the top, and oil being lighter than water, it's going to pull out all of the oil from your dish. Okay, now this is coming to a rapid boil. What I'm going to do right now is add back all of the rotis that I put in there. There you go. And you'll see as soon as I add it, it's just going to start soaking up all of the liquid that's in there. I do have to allow it to boil and simmer, and the more it simmers, the more it'll thicken. Eventually, all of this liquid sauce is going to coat the rotis. Don't mess with them too much. Don't touch them too much. Just let it boil, let it be there. Add a little bit of cilantro. Thank you for all the hearts and all the likes. I appreciate that. I'm able to catch that on the screen every now and then. Thank you for all of that. I appreciate that. Thank you that you are with me on this boring day. It would be very boring if I didn't have your company and I was just standing here alone in my kitchen and cooking, right? So thank you, thank you. So this is happening. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to put a lid on that pan as well. Okay. Just going to give it a gentle zhuzh to make sure nothing is sticking to the bottom. I am using a non-stick pan. Don't make the roti pieces so small that they're going to become glob. Just keep them to be large enough. And then now I'm going to turn the heat medium to low. And I will put the cover on it so that all of the liquid can be soaked up by the rotis. I'm going to switch places again and quickly show you what the fish looks like right now. It's pretty much ready. I will put pictures of the plated dish on TikTok and on my Facebook stories, and I will insert the link to the full video. So don't feel disheartened if you don't see me plating it or whatever. If you gotta go, you can. Just don't do it without following our page. We have a private Facebook group called Indian Curry Lovers. Definitely feel free to follow that. Last week I did a workshop on meal planning right in that group, so there's definitely perks and benefits of being a part of that group. Do not miss out. Okay, now come in and take a close look at this curry. You see all of this thing on the edges? This is the oil that comes to the top when you've cooked it adequately, right? And you can see every piece of fish is intact and it's been poached in its own sauce. So that's really, really nice. I want the gravy to evaporate just a little bit more. So I am going to turn up the heat. And as a last aromatic, I am going to add just a pinch of cardamom powder and a hint of garam masala to this. That's all. After that, we are done. No one is adding anything or taking away anything after that, right? So just a little pinch. A pinch literally means a pinch. Just to kind of give it that citrus kick. And then the same thing, 2 pinches of garam masala. And now it's going to boil and reduce. I've removed the lid so it can reduce down. And it'll be ready to serve. Okay? Again, don't go in there aggressively with your spatula and shake things up. Just give it a gentle stir. You can do this with any kind of fish. You can do it with any kind of fillets. Or you can do it with any vegetable that cooks fast. Right? Now here, let's see what the situation is over here for the sail rotis. A lot of the liquid has gone. You can see it's almost like a solid thing that's set in the pan. Again, we're not going to go in there with our spatula and aggressively poke it around. Just give it a gentle shake. Leave it in there and let it do its thing. So both these dishes are going to be ready. And this is 2 dishes that again we made them today without any onions, without any ginger. This is just garlic, tomatoes, a couple of different kind of aromatics, and we've been able to pull this off, right? So with that, it's going to be a wrap. I will put pictures of the plated, completed dishes. They're pretty much done. I'm just going to wait out to adjust the consistency of the gravy and the sauce on both of these. Other than that, they're pretty much done. If you have any questions about today's recipe or Indian food in general, definitely leave a comment in the comment box or send me a DM if you'd like to get a link to the website. If you want the chana masala download, definitely check out the website. queenscurrykitchen.com is the website. If you can't find it there, send me a PM, send me a DM. I'll be very happy to send you a link to the website so that you can download it and start making Indian food and kind of, just melt the ice a little bit, so to speak, with Indian food. It could be your first introduction with making it at home. You have all these takeout dishes that you like, but you don't know how to do it. Just start with that simple chana masala recipe. It's not an elaborate recipe. It's a very simple recipe that calls for maybe 4 ingredients that you will have in your home. So make it, enjoy it, and then break the ice with Indian food so that you can feel more confident about experimenting with some others. I have some classes coming up in the near future. They are soup classes. I have a festive chocolate making class with Indian flavors. I'm going to do that. And for Diwali and Navratri, I might be doing some vegetarian dishes with no onion, no garlic, because that's the regulation that Hindus around the world have to eat. So I might be doing one live every day around Navratri. I still have not planned my calendar, but I'm hoping that that's going to be there for you when you're ready. Just keep the notifications on so that you will get notified when I go live. All right. So with that, I am going to say goodbye and thank you. Just one last look at what we created together. This is good to go. I'm going to turn this completely off. And you can see the fish is really well done. It's nice and flaky. It's fully cooked. The gravy is fully cooked. And then here, this is the sail roti. Just give it a gentle stir and then turn it off so that it'll continue to soak up. Right? It shouldn't be completely dry. It should have a little bit of loose gravy to it so that as it sits before it's served, it's going to continue to soak up and not become dry on you. So both of these dishes are done. Thank you very much for being with me today. I am Chef Nupur, the owner of Queen's Curry Kitchen right here in Queens, New York. I will see you in another video. Until then, be blissful and flavorful. Take good care of yourselves and goodbye. God bless. Bye-bye.